I'll hand over to Nipur to carry on for the next section. Over to you, Nipur.
Thanks, James. We have Stefania who just joined. Stefania, would you like to introduce yourself and start with the workshop?
Sure thing. So let me put my video on probably. Hi everyone, I'm Stefania Chaplin. I am a solutions architect at GitLab. So if you just bear with me, I just need to get the slides up to the stage we're at, the introduction to AI. Okay, let me share my screen. Cool, this should be where we were before. So we're going to go a little bit into the background. So you can see we have our different stages here. So at the moment, we're at the introduction to AI. If you have just joined and you need help with the lab setup, then yes, please feel free to write in the chat. There are a few of us in the Q&A to help you out. So where did this all start? So the term artificial intelligence was coined a long time ago, back in 1955. I know it can seem sometimes that with ChatGPT-4 that came out last November, it's very new, but actually the background of it dates back decades, back to the 50s. And then when this happened, it kicked off a wave of research projects into the feasibility of this and what was possible and also what was desired. And especially if you look at what's happening with science fiction, there's been a lot of different movie inspirations. If you look at, I know for me at least with the ChatGPT, all of a sudden, the first time that I saw chatbots that were better at writing than I am, because I'm not a very good writer, then I was like, oh, okay, is this more Matrix or are we going more Terminator? So there's definitely been a lot, not only in films, but also in books as well. And it's very interesting how they evolve together. So in terms of humans versus AI, so this is quite an interesting, because if you look back, one of the first, at least one of the first ones I can remember is humans who play chess versus computers who play chess. So the first big event was 2011 when IBM's Deep Blue beat the world chess champion. And then this also led to other games, Jeopardy, Atari, Pac-Man, Go. So we're starting to see situations where AI, it's not just simple automation. It can have more, at least when it comes to chess and other games, more strategic, more ability to plan ahead compared with world champions. So OpenAI. So as I have mentioned, whilst I've been speaking, this is probably one of the most, at least right now, probably one of the most recognized brands in AI. So some people are aware of ChatGPT. There's also, I'm going to pronounce this wrong because I've only ever seen it written, DALL-E or DALL.E for image. And there's lots of exciting things coming out. One of the product releases I saw most recently was the data analytics plug-on, because if you give it data, hopefully you would not give it confidential data, but if it's just for the sake of analysis, and it will tell you, it will give you, a lot of analysis that would usually be done by a person who would be employed. So it's very interesting, to watch about how OpenAI and AI are evolving. Etc. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see, I don't know if the sound will come on. I can try playing this. Can people hear the sound?
Sorry, Steph, that's not coming out.
Okay, if I put the, I can put the subtitles on, or we can skip it. What do you think, James?
Yeah, we can watch it with the subtitles for a minute.
Okay.
Too long, is it? Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, apologies. I don't know how to change the sound. Oh. Hi, Rico. I can see you've raised your hand. Sorry, I've just realized, I think the subtitles are frozen because I've realized I can hear things that it was not saying. But what was interesting just then was the guy said, wow, the bot is playing better than I could play. So I think this is in terms of with, the way things are going, whether it's chess, whether it's more sophisticated games like Dota, whether then AI is evolving. So let me, bear with me. I just have to put this to the next slide. So thank you all for bearing with the sound issues. Back to my voice. So with AI today, if AI can beat world champions, and especially for people with a lot of experience, 30 million people when there's prize pools, why wouldn't you want to use it in your work? So this comes to what we're going to be talking about shortly, that Nukapur is going to be covering. And helping tech, how can we help? So faster deployments, less deployment pain. I've got to say faster and happier deployments. Improved security, by embedding security and governance, and using AI for example, incident response or for vulnerability remediation. It can really help. Quality assurance, maybe you want to use it for code quality, automating tests, code reviewing, intelligent monitoring and alerting. I kind of mentioned this with improved security, but definitely AI can be very, very effective, especially when you're looking at, say, cloud security, monitoring cloud instances, anything to do with the perimeter, very effective. And also predictive analytics. If AI can look at the behavior of the teams, it can identify, for example, with development, particularly a productive team or productive users that are operating, very effectively and successfully, and then identify those users, and then maybe if there's a particularly challenging area of the business or a project that really needs some expert advice, consult with this team, etc. So there's a lot of really good things that are coming out of AI, and we're going to be touching on some of them today. So AI in GitLab. So we are coming up to our hands-on exercise. So just a little bit talking about AI in GitLab. AI is central to GitLab's DevSecOps platform. So there's a couple of things that we want to bear in mind. So with GitLab, we are a DevSecOps platform. So what does that mean? We can help developers, security, operations with their software, creation and delivery process and making sure it's secure. So what we did when we took the approach to AI is we looked at that whole process spanning from, project management and idea creation and user stories, developing pipelines, deployments, monitoring, securing everything. And we thought, where can AI help? And the important thing is we're doing this with a privacy first approach. And you have the interface, it will just be a single application. If I were to look at the average company and then ask them, how many tabs they had open if they wanted to create and manage user stories, code, run the pipelines, look at security results, deploy, and monitor, etc. That's normally going to be a lot of tabs. With GitLab, it's one interface, one application. And AI can really kind of help you with this software delivery lifecycle. So we have a couple of features. So one thing, apologies, I joined a few minutes late. I had an emergency with keys. I'm not sure if it was mentioned earlier, but with GitLab, some of our features are coming out to general availability. Some are in beta, some are alpha, some are experimental. So please bear with us today because we're praying to the demo gods and the workshop gods that everything is going to be working. But we will see shortly. But so far, so good, everyone. So anyway, my point is with these features that you can see on the screen, so they may vary, but in terms of what they are, depending on who you are. So developer teams, things that can be really useful is code suggestions. So that would be helping you to write the code, as the name suggests. It helps suggest code for you. Also, suggested reviewers. So this is very helpful for code reviews. So for example, if you are submitting code to be reviewed, GitLab can help identify who is the best person to help review, and that can be based on a number of factors. Summarizing is really helpful and really important. I'm sure everyone in the virtual Zoom room can remember at least one time that they have been presented with, whether it's an issue or an incident or a story or just, you know, any type of page like that. And it is, you scroll and you scroll and you scroll some more, and then you have a lot of information there. So what you need to do, or what we can help you do, is summarize these changes. So for example, the merge request, we can also, you know, for everyone, we can do it with issue comments. And we also want to help you explain things. So especially if you're security and operations, we can help explain not only what the vulnerability is and remediation advice, but also explain this code. So for example, if you are looking into code and you want to understand what it's doing, explain this code can help you do that. Finally, one, I don't think we're going to touch on it today, but one that I'm particularly excited at is about value stream forecasting. We do a lot with GitLab, with value stream mapping, with, if you look at DORA 4 metrics, if you read Accelerate by Gene Kim, and if you're interested in value stream forecasting, that's a really exciting area to watch. So what's worth noting with GitLab, as I mentioned, we really want to focus on two things. So enterprise grade, you know, we want things to scale. We want to help, you know, drive enterprise adoption. We want it to, you know, be enterprise grade, and also taking a privacy first approach. So within this included, for example, IP protection, looking at privacy, looking at compliance. Also, we're building this in within the foundation of how we're doing this. So we're not going to use, you know, security and compliance as an add-on. We're really looking at privacy, security, privacy compliance, as I said, from the foundations. In terms of protecting your code, as I mentioned, protecting the privacy is really a top priority for us when developing these features. So customer source code does not leave the GitLab instance, and it is not used to retrain generic multi-customer code generation models. So this key principle will stay our #1 priority as we can continue to develop new features within the AI ML space. Today is actually really exciting. This is one of our first AI ML workshops. So we're really keen to hear your feedback, and please continue to watch this space because we will be continuing to develop new features within the AI ML space. So please keep your eyes out, and thank you for joining today. In terms of future goals with AI, so we want to, as I mentioned before, the way that our DevSecOps platform works, it, you know, it helps a lot of personas, and it, you know, does a lot of different things. So we really want to use AI to enhance this. So stuff like automating mundane tasks. This can be really helpful for everyone. I don't know very many people that say, oh, I really love my job because all day I just do these boring mundane tasks. So, you know, helping to automate those away. So for example, assigning, labels, summarizing, these are all really quick and easy efficiency gains, which can then help you and your teams dedicate more energy to what's important. Secondly, reducing the risk of insecure coding practices. So this is, you know, detecting and remediating and the code quality and security vulnerabilities, and also having the immediate feedback loop. If we've learned anything from the original Phoenix project and DevOps, it's all about feedback loops. So having this information instantly is much more helpful than having it in 3 months' time or next year or even in a week. If you're able to automatically detect and help remediate and improve code quality as it's happening, that's going to have a real improvement to, you know, efficiency, to happiness, to culture, to performance, to everything. And finally, augmenting developers. So this is a bit like augmented reality. We have augmenting developers. So generative code suggestions such as writing, reviewing, and fixing code. Last bit, I think, before I hand over after this, we will also help customers develop their own AI applications faster. So something worth bearing in mind is we're talking about AI within the GitLab product. Did you know that GitLab can help you with your AI workload? So for example, if you are doing anything around MLOps, if you need, you know, specific, you know, you need better support for Python runners or specific GPU runners. For example, if you want to host your model, host your machine learning models, we will be incorporating that within the GitLab model registry. And the way to think about it is when you normally, when you're talking about ML ops, you have kind of data teams, you have machine learning teams that are doing the research and the models, and then you have the ops teams that's helping to, help all these things scale and keep it safe, secure, etc. So we are starting from the ops side, and then we are moving into the machine learning ML ops. So, for example, model registry, and our intention is to go further into the data. So, not only can GitLab help you with your DevSecOps goals, so software delivery, but also with your ML ops. So with your any AI ML, which you might find is also a different team. It's more around the data scientists, the machine learning, it may be in a very separate virtual building, but it's worth knowing that GitLab can help with both, and it's very effective when paired together. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Apologies for running a bit late, and thank you, James, for covering. Going to hand over to Nipur to talk about the hands-on exercise.
Thanks, Stefania. So I'll share my screen first. James, Stefania, can you confirm if you're able to see my screen? It should have two windows open, one with the presentation and one with the test group, which we created while James was explaining. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, going ahead, Stephanie explained all kinds of AI features we are currently working with. Either they are in already general availability, beta, or experimental. We'll go through some of those features today live in this workshop. We also have some optional features which are available as part of the issue we will see. After the workshop, you can go ahead and try on those features in your own time at your own place, as this will be available for the next 48 hours. And once you are done, you can transfer the project. So we'll go forward with some of the features today in this workshop, and some you can try it after the workshop in your own time. So getting started with the hands-on exercise, James helped us creating the lab setup, and then Stefania went ahead and explained the AI part and how AI is implemented in GitLab. Now we will do some hands-on and see how that works in real life in GitLab. Please note that to complete the hands-on exercise, you should work with the redeem code which we gave at the start of the session. So if you use your own group, you will not be able to have all the features in place because you might not have an ultimate license attached, or the appropriate runners and the AI capabilities might also be not turned on for you. We will go through how you can do it in your own groups, how to turn on AI features. But still, for this workshop, it's important you use the redeem code and use the group which was created as part of the redeem code. The group should look like my test group, and this will be something random for you. For each of you, this will be different, but main, it will be like my test group and some IDs. You will have 48 hours to come back to your group, try on all the features, try on all the things. And once you are done, you can move this project to your own namespace. So to start with, let's try to see which project we will be using to try on all the AI features. So this is a project where we will fork this project. When I say fork, we will copy this project into our test groups, and from there we will start working on it. So for that, as I said, it's best to open two windows. One where we can see all the issue steps which we will following through the workshop, and another window to do the actual steps, right? So two windows, one with the issues, another with the group. Please keep in mind that the issues itself will not be forked. So we will fork the project, but the issue will not be forked. So you might have to use the same issue link. Our team members will share that link in the chat. So this will be same for everyone, the issue window and the workshop project we will fork in a minute. So to fork the project, we will go on the workshop project. The link might already be shared in the chat window, and it will look something like this. So workshop project, AI workshop project, and you can find a button over here, fork. Let me click on that. Once you click on that, then you will be asked to select a namespace. If you click on this one, you will be provided with quite a lot of namespaces. Let me try to find my namespace. Q. So once you start typing the last digits of your group, you will be populated with your namespace. Go ahead and select the the project name over here, and then click on fork project. So again, going on the steps, you in the project workshop, click on the fork button. Here, try to find this unique identifier of yours. Once this is done, click on fork project, and you will be copying the project into your own test group. So this is my test group. Let me refresh it. And I have this workshop project for us, right? Now, once the workshop project is forked into my group, I need to make sure that this does not have any association with the parent project because I just forked it from some other project. So to do that, you can go ahead and click on workshop project. On the left-hand side, if you are working like me with a double window, you might be having a tab with a show sidebar. For the one who are using the full window, this might already be open for you. Click on it and go on settings and general. When you go on settings and general, in the visible project feature permission, go on expand. If you go, sorry, if you go down on advanced, if you go down on advanced, there will be an option which says remove fork relationship. Again, on the left hand side, you go on settings, you go on general, go on the end part, go on the end part. In the advanced section, you will have remove fork relationship. Click on that, retype the workshop project over here and confirm. This will make sure your fork relationship have been removed. Now, coming back to the steps. So we already have this workshop project forked for us. So that was it. We went on to removing the fork relationship. I'll give it a minute for everyone to reach to this step and then I'll start. So I hope everyone has forked their projects. And as a next step, we will start with all the instructions. So as I said, the instructions for this particular workshop will not be forked as part of the project. So let's click on this and go on the issue part. Our team members will put this link in the chat. So go ahead and click on it and you will be navigated to this particular page which says workshop projects and issues. As I said in the start, we have quite a lot of features which are available in various areas, so beta, alpha, experimental. We will be going through some of the features as part of this particular issue, modern development with GitLab AI. Other issues are optional for you, so in your own time and pace, you can go and work with that. Today evening, tomorrow, you have 48 hours to do that. So to get started, let's start with the modern development with GitLab AI. So I'll just see, I'll open this and this tells us all the steps we will be doing today for the workshop. So to start working with GitLab AI, you have to enable code suggestions and suggested reviewers on your GitLab instance, right? For the testing purpose of our today's workshop, I will be enabling it for everyone. So you can just go and see how I do it. If you want to do it on your instance, you can do it after the workshop, right? Let me try to see. So first of all, how to enable code suggestions. So for that, we can go to the group, top level group. So that can be your group in your instance. But for us today, it is GitLab Learn Labs. I will go over here. And then on the left-hand side, I'll go to the settings and the general. Again, this is the top level group where all my projects are residing. So I will enable it here. This will make sure all the projects, groups, subgroups residing under it will have the features of code suggestions, suggested reviews enabled by default, right? Now, the next step is to go to permission and group feature, click on expand, and there are quite a lot of permissions which can be enabled. But for the AI part, we will be going through down, down. Maybe I am doing something. Let me try again. So I'll go on settings, general, permissions. Okay.
It's up a little bit.
Oh,
Go down.
yes,
Right
here it
there.
is. Yeah. So here in the code suggestion feature, you can enable the code suggestions. The project in this group can use code suggestions. As I said, if you enable it in the top level group, everything below that or all the projects as part of that particular group will have the code suggestions enabled, right? In following that, all the experimental features, as Stephanie already mentioned, some of our features are still in experimental form. So if you want to enable those as well and see how that performs, you can use you can check and use experimental features and other features which are part of our experimental functionalities will also be enabled in that particular group. Also, we are using some third-party services as well. So check that as well, and all the features available as part of the AI offering for GitLab will be enabled for you on the group. As I said, you need not do it. I have done it for you. So if you have ultimate trial or if you have ultimate licenses, you can do it on your group and then it will enable all the features for you. So this finishes our step one. We have enabled, we have saved, and then we have done all the AI ML features in the group and code suggestions that is built in Web IDE. If you want to try out a code suggestion in Visual Studio Code, there is an optional issue provided as part of this particular workshop. You can go through it and you can set up Visual Studio Code as well post-workshop. But for today, we will be using GitLab's Web IDE to test those particular features. Okay, moving on to our project. So now you should go ahead and move to your test group. Again, it will look like my test group. And
Nipar, can
yes,
we
sorry.
take a quick, just 3-minute break? Some people are having issues working over the project. So
Yeah,
sorry to ruin
sure.
your flow, just a quick 3-minute break.
Yeah, sure. So we'll take a 3-minute break and we will come back at 2:45. And till then, the team can help you resolve your issues.
And just for clarification, the steps we just went through to turn on experimental features, code suggestions, etc. That was all done at the top level of the group before this. That's not something you guys need to do. That was more so just to show it off.
Yes, for the workshop purposes, you do not have to do anything to enable it. We just showed it so that when you are back with your own groups, in your own instances, in your own namespace, this is how you can enable it for everyone in your group. So for now, I have done it for everybody. So I hope things are resolved for most of you. What we will do is I want to run one pipeline and then we can wait for a couple of minutes again to see and to make sure everybody has sufficient time to resolve the issues, or if they have any questions, they can go ahead and ask them in the chat. So I'll start with it. Logan, do you have anything pending which needs to be done, or should I start?
Just one quick point. There's still a few people mentioning that they can't enable code suggestions. So like we said, you won't be able to enable code suggestions at the top level of the group because we've already done that for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you are trying to enable it on your own profile and not seeing it, please post in QA.
Okay, Richard, what we have enabled is the features to make sure that you can access code suggestions, but we will be going through how these are finally looked, or how these look on the projects and how these features can be used in the DevSecOps journey. So as I said, we will just trigger one pipeline to see the results and see how the AI prediction works on that pipeline. And then wait for a couple of minutes from everyone to catch. So ideally, for now, you should be on my test group with this thing, a random number for you, and under it, the forked project, workshop project should be there. Once you click on that workshop project, this is the place where we will be checking for all the features, which was enabled at the top level group, right? Go ahead and click on the left side, which says show sidebar. On that, click on build and then on the pipelines, right? We will be running a pipeline over here to get the results like a usual
Nipur, I think
Yeah,
your screen is frozen. Sorry.
okay. Uh, is
Yeah,
it better now?
it just jumped to no pipelines. Could you go back a few
Yeah.
steps so people can see?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Logan, for highlighting that. So going again, everybody should be on that my test group, which was created when you redeem the code. Under it, you should see a workshop project. This is the project which we just forked, and we removed the fork relationship. If somebody is not able to do that, please post in the chat and our admins can do it for you. Once you're on the workshop project, we can go inside the workshop project. This is the place where we will be checking all the AI features and how they can help us. To check all the features in the developer workflow, let's start like a normal developer workflow where a developer can run pipeline uh, to commit his changes. So let's go on build and pipelines. Here you can see the run pipeline button. I'll just go ahead and click on Run Pipeline button. I want to run my pipeline on the main branch because we haven't created any branch or any other thing. So I'll just go ahead and say Run Pipeline. And this will make sure for this particular project, workshop project, a pipeline run with a lot of steps over here. So we are checking SAS, we are doing code quality, container scanning, and so on. We will wait for this pipeline to finish because we will be checking on some of the AI features on the results of this pipeline, right? So again, I'll wait for a couple of minutes for this to finish. And meanwhile, if you still are having trouble, please put your questions in Q&A and somebody should be help you to reach up to this point. Till the time we are waiting for everybody to catch up and the pipelines to finish, maybe we can have a question. Okay, so let's see if uh, you can answer this poll. What is the most important thing for you with AI? So is it privacy? Is it the efficiency gains you can achieve from the AI capabilities? It is something about the cost and prices, or more about the experiences a developer or a business person can get from the whole platform? Okay, we got some interesting results where 61% thinks it's the privacy first, 89% thinks the efficiency gain matters a lot, then seamless experience, and something about cost and prices. It seems we do not have many management people in the group today. Okay, so going ahead, let me see if we have our pipeline finished. So it's almost about to be finished. If you are not on that screen, what you can do is you can go on the project using the breadcrumbs over here, or you can go on your group and then on the project. On the left-hand side, click on the show sidebar, and on the build step, you will see the pipelines. Once you go on the pipeline, you can see all the pipelines running. For me, it's one pipeline. For most of you, it should be only one pipeline running. And it still says it's running. So the test stage for us is running. We need this to get completed to go ahead and check for the results. Apart from that, okay, so it's completed with a warning. Let's go ahead and see what happened. Why did we had a warning? So all the steps which are part of this pipeline, SAS, code quality container scanning, everything finished except dependency scanning. So there was some issue with the dependency scanning, because of which it was not finished. We will not be going to debug this session. This is more about AI, not the CI/CD, but this should not impact the results we will be getting. Hope for most of you, these pipelines are finished. To see the results of these pipelines, let's go again on the left-hand side, we have secure, and then on the vulnerability report, right? So here on the vulnerability report, you can see the results which were generated as part of the pipeline. There are quite a lot of critical vulnerabilities, high vulnerabilities present, right? If you want to understand a little bit more about this vulnerability and how this is, what this is more about, maybe just check on one vulnerability. So let's see this SAS vulnerability, right? So I'll click on it and it gives me a little bit details, but I am not a security expert and this looks all kind of garbage to me, right? So to understand a little bit better, we can use the AI feature of GitLab, explain this vulnerability and how to mitigate it. So let's try this out. So once you do click on try this out, a pop-up window appears where our AI is trying to generate a response to explain what this vulnerability is and how does it work. So for example, this is the name of the vulnerability: improper neutralization of special element used in SQL commands. Too tough to understand. I don't know what it is, but the AI part explain why it is there. So the SQL injection is type of attack that occurs when an attacker is able to insert malicious code into the SQL statement. So it states that whenever you have an SQL statement uh, which is available for attack, you will get this type of vulnerabilities, a discussion around it, like how does it works, also how can I protect myself from this vulnerability. Like it says, one of the most important is to use a prepared statement. Like, so instead of using open SQL statements, if you use prepared statements, you can protect yourself from the hacker's attack. This also provides some examples of how the attacker could exploit the vulnerability and how you can fix it, right? So it gives you an idea of, okay, this is how the attacker is actually using to enter the system. So if the user enters the name, it will be inserted in the SQL statement as follow. And now the attacker has added the malicious code to this SQL statement. So this is how an attacker can actually enter and exploit your code. And to fix it, how you can utilize or how you can use a prepared statement. So instead of just getting these values and searching it on your own, you can get more details by using explain this vulnerability and how to fix it, right? So this is, you can try it in on other results as well, which we got from this particular list, and see how different vulnerabilities are, what different vulnerabilities were identified and how to resolve them. But to move forward, we will work with the SAS vulnerability. So go ahead and click on severity and filter on medium. And as I said, we will be working with SAS vulnerability. So the SAS will check SAS. If your pipeline is not successful, or if your pipeline has not ended, you will not see anything on the vulnerability reports. So maybe a couple of minutes, and you will be able to see the vulnerability report on the system. Once, if your pipeline is completed and still the reports are not visible, please put it in the chat and our team should be able to help you. Coming back to the steps we were following, so we will be working on one of the SaaS vulnerability, and we will try to fix that vulnerability, right? So it says we will filter based upon medium, and we are trying to see what the vulnerabilities were identified as SaaS. Now we will identify a vulnerability which is improper neutralization of special elements. So this looks like the same. I will click on it. It says 111. That means this vulnerability was found on line 111. Let's click on that. And again, this was the same vulnerability which we just saw, but it tells you the path where it is. So it is found in notes folder db.py file on the number 111. Again, if this is something which you did not look before, you can go ahead and look for explain this vulnerability to know more about it. Once this is done, we will go ahead and try to see how we can understand the code, because maybe I'm a developer who did not work on this file or who did not work on this issue, and I'm like, okay, what does notes folder do, or what does the db.py file is doing? I'm not sure why this vulnerability came into this folder. I'm not sure, some other developer worked on it. So first of all, I want to understand what this function is doing in my project repository. And maybe after that, I will try and fix that particular functionality, right? So to first go ahead and understand what this function is doing, I'll go ahead on my projects. So from the breadcrumbs, I'll just follow workshop project and I'll open it in a new window over here. If somebody is not on this particular one, or maybe in the build step or some other step, you can also go and click on project overview. So you will be navigated to this particular view, right? Here, if you remember, it was in notes folder db.py. So I'll just go ahead in the notes folder and db.py. And this is the function where my vulnerability was introduced. Now, if you remember, in the issue, it says line 111. So I'll just go on the line 111. And it says there is something related to cure dot execute query. No idea what this is doing, right? So what I'll do is I'll try to select the area which I don't understand, and I'll just put, there is a question mark on the side, click on it, and the AI will generate the explanation of the code as to what this code is doing, right? So for any of you, if you're working on issue, if you're not working on an issue, there is a repository, there are codes which you're not familiar with, maybe you're new to the team or you don't handle that area and you want to understand what that code is doing, select the code, uh, click on the button, and you will be able to see the explanation of the code as to what it is doing. So this code you have provided is a try except block. It used to handle errors that may occur when executing the query. In this case, the query is trying to select a node from the database by its ID. If the query fails, the except block will be executed and error will be logged. So it seems like it's a try and except block, which is trying to handle issues when there is when somebody is trying to execute the query, right? Likewise, you can select any. So maybe I'll select this particular block of code because I want to understand what this block of code is doing. And I'll click on this question mark and the AI will generate for me what that code is doing. So I selected that, and this will tell me what this function or what this part of code is doing. I'll give it a minute for everybody to catch up, maybe try this feature out in any other folder if you want to, or maybe on any other function in this particular file. So as we mentioned in the start, that anything where you can find the line or the area where the issue is occurring, you can select that and try to understand what that function is doing. Once you have more clarity on what the code is doing for you, you can have more information on how to resolve it. So a combination of understanding of the code along with the way how to fix it can help you to understand how to fix the issue which you are currently having. So now, putting this information which we got from explain this vulnerability and the information which we got from understanding the code, let's try to fix the issue with the code suggestion features, right? So for doing that, we will go to the project overview. Again, using the breadcrumbs, you can go on project workshop, click on it, and you will be navigated to the project workshop. On the left hand side, you can go ahead. Oh, sorry, not on the left hand side. I'm so much used to going on the left hand side, I completely forget the right hand side. So go on edit and click on web IDE. Again, go on the workshop project. You will be navigated to the main page of the project. On the edit button, click on web IDE and you will be navigated to the web IDE. The code suggestion features works with our own web IDE that is integrated within GitLab and on the Visual Studio Code as well. If you want to use VSC, we have an optional steps as mentioned at the start of the workshop. In your own time, you can integrate that and try to see how it works in VSC. But for today, we will be using code suggestions in our own web IDE. So once I'm over here, I will try to go and go forward and find notes folder on the db.py. So this is the one. We had three vulnerabilities, if you remember. So let me go back. So here we identified three vulnerabilities, out of which we understood what this is having. So let me go and show it once again. It takes a couple of minutes. Okay, so here you have the vulnerability example and how things can be fixed. Now going on to the code, it says that once we look at the function in 102, we can see that this is the function which was listed on the vulnerability over here. And here the error at 111 was identified. So this is the function where the vulnerability was found out, and it says 111 where things are going wrong. So let's try to make this statement as change this statement to fix this vulnerability. So go ahead and copy this code and replace this. Right? So now instead of using normal queries, we have using a build queries to resolve the vulnerability which was identified. So again, at 111, change the line, the code to make it a build query, right? So once that is done, we will also try to create a new class. So we will try to see if code suggestions can help us create new functionalities without actually writing the code, the whole code. And for doing that, we will add a calculator class to this application. For doing so, you can just right click on the notes and create a new file and then name it calc.py. Right? So again, on the notes, click on click on it and then create a new file calc.py, right? For those who are still trying to cope up, we are creating a new function, calc.py, in this particular app. And for doing that, click on right click on notes and then new file, and then you can create a calc.py function. Now, I do not want to write the function from scratch, but I want to use the AI features provided by GitLab uh, to see if we can predict what we want to write. And for that, for example, I already know I want to define a calculator class. So here I'll just say I want to define a calculator a class for other functions. So this is like a comment. And once I start pressing enter, it will ask me if this seems to be a good solution for not. So I think this is a good start of by starting a class calculator. I'll use tab. So here you can say if you use tab, it will accept the whole thing. And if you want to accept a word, you can just use an arrow. So I want to accept the whole thing. And then based upon this, it predicted now it's only number one. Now it's defining another variable number two. And I think this is good. So I'll just put another tab, and then it will tell if you want to add the two numbers. That's the next step. So it is adding two numbers. Then it is adding another functions to subtract, another functions to multiply. So the more you use tab, the more it will start predicting the code. So by only defining what I need to do, so I needed to use a calculator class. The application or the AI helped me first to define two numbers, and then based upon these two numbers, it is writing functions to add, to subtract, to supply, to divide. After that, the AI is suggesting, do you need a square also? So you can again hit tab, and it will predict for square and so on. Free feel to do it 2, 4, or 5 times just to see what all predictions you're getting. And once you are done, yeah, just stop it after 5 minutes. So this makes sure that we have a function where we did not actually write the code, but AI predicted what can be a possible code for you. Now, after that, once you are done, enter, and I'm done. Now, the code suggestions works for different languages. You can use AI sandbox, and these are the languages which you can write your code in. So if you want, you can check out or try to write a hello world example or more advanced one in one of these languages by going onto one of these folders. You can do it in your own time, as you have 48 hours to test. So once after you are done with the class, somewhere in the evening or tomorrow morning, you can go ahead and try out some examples to see how the AI predicts various functionalities or various codes for various features, right? So we have completed our function, or we have created a function for the calculator class. The AI sandbox can be tested in your own time. Now we want to commit this code to the main. So we are happy with the changes. We made a changes based upon the suggestion given by our explain this vulnerability thing. And we also wrote a new function from scratch using the AI feature of the code suggestions. Now I want to commit it to main, and for that you will see a source control button over here. Click it, and then it asks if you want to commit it to main or not. So I want to commit to main, so I'll say, I'll write a message, change cal.py and db.py, so that I know exactly afterwards what I did. Main, and I don't want to create a new branch. I'll just go ahead and check it in the main branch. So continue, and it will ask me if I want to go to the project, and I'll go to the project and I will be navigated to the project, right? So using the AI features, first of all, we understood what the code was doing, the vulnerabilities which was identified, for which I had no clue about what that vulnerability is, what that vulnerability is more about, how you can fix it, how actually attackers exploit those vulnerabilities, and using both the understanding the code data and understanding the vulnerability, we went ahead and fixed the vulnerabilities. We also created a function using the code suggestions and then committed everything into the main branch. So this is the end of the hands-on portion for this lab. But if you want to check on more features which are available, you can just go on the issues over here and transfer project. You might wait on it till you really want to do, till you are really done with all the things. And once you are finished with all the feature experimenting, playing with the playground, you can go ahead and transfer the project. So we will not be going into the optional issues. I will take another 5 minutes to make sure everybody is on the same page. If you have any questions, if something is not running, please feel to put it in the chat, and we will start again at 3:20.
Nupur, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
That's much better. Thank you.
Well, thanks for telling. So I was saying for those who are struggling with enabling code suggestions for their profile, I just showed on the sidebar, check on your profile picture. Here you have a preference tab, go on preferences, go down, and then here you'll have code suggestions. I hope that should make everybody code suggestion available for them. As you still have 48 hours to try out all the features, you will be provided with the slides, the recording, and also the issue over here. With combination of this, you can backtrack and try out all different things which you were not able to do as part of this workshop. So coming back, we just completed our hands-on workshop where we tried some of the features. Other optional features are part of the issues. You can go ahead and try them. Moving on, I'll just close on this window because we don't need that. And we will go ahead and see some of the best practices of GitLab AI, right? So we did the lab setup. We went through the AI and how it is done with GitLab. Then we did try some features on GitLab projects, and now we will see what are the best practices which GitLab suggests when it comes to AI. So in GitLab's vision for our next upcoming releases, we plan to apply AI assisted workflows through the whole SDLC. When we say through whole SDLC, that means from the point a business comes with the requirements or a business developer creates feature request till the time somebody is checking for the analytics to say how we can predict how things are going with value streams. The whole process have AI assisted workflows to make life easier for whichever party who is involved in that particular uh, process, right? So the way of AI integration comes with a lot of risk to privacy. So usually when it comes to AI and code, the first thing which comes to our mind is, as an organization, we have our proprietary code. If AI starts working on it, will it start suggesting our code to somebody else? Or maybe what we created will be provided to somebody else. So we work with privacy and transparency by design, and GitLab is committed to providing solutions that minimizes the risk through the adoption of AI. So we know privacy is a concern, and that's our foremost point when we try to create any feature and we try to release anything respect to AI in GitLab. So we have one workflow. GitLab is known for one particular single platform, from user issue creation, portfolio management, till monitoring and analytics. But as we said, we want to make sure that in each step we have AI assisted workflows. So for example, in GitLab, if you start with the epic management, our AI can help you summarize the epics. So you need not go to scroll down and down and down to understand what happened, but with one click, you can get the summaries of what's happening in that epic, and any management person or any business person can understand what's happening by that particular epic. Similarly, with the issues, when there are a lot of discussions happening, to and fro communication between business and developers, or maybe developers and developers, to summarize and understand what has happened till now, this feature can help you to understand the whole summary which has been going on for an issue in one area or one comment. Then with the merge request, you can actually have code suggestions like we tried, where a developer can create a snippet or can tell what he's trying to achieve. And based upon that, the AI can suggest a code which a developer can check and say, okay, that's something which I can start working with. Then you have suggested reviewers. Once the developer is done with coding and he wants somebody to review it, AI can help to tell him, okay, this might be the best reviewer who is suited to review the changes which you have made. So reviewer search or the persons, if they are new to the organizations, or there are quite a lot of SMEs in different areas which review different area of your project, this can really help in making proper decisions and not delaying the review because the reviewer suggested was or reviewer chose was wrong. Then once everything is done, again, like we did on issues and epics, everybody at the end before approval wants to understand the merge request changes, right? So I, as an approver, there are a lot of discussion going on, and I, as an approver, now wants to click on approve button. But before that, I really want to understand what went on with this merge request and if everything is okay with that or not. So instead of going through the whole discussion, through the whole summary, I can just use summarize MR changes to understand what discussions were made in a gist and then take decision whether I should approve it or do not approve it based upon that. Then we have the experience. So once you are pushing the code, you want to understand what this code is doing, right? For people who are new or who does not work with that particular area of the code, this really helps each member of the team to get in pace if something comes up or if a developer of a user is not available at the very moment, and others can also whether they're technical and non-technical can understand the code quickly instead of going through it in a longer manner. Then AI in GitLab can also help in generate tests in MR. So automated test generation is also possible. Keep in mind, some of these features are in general availability, like suggested reviewers. Some are in beta and some are in experimental state. So maybe there are some features which works perfectly, and for some, the training models are still in process of learning and predicting things in a more efficient way. So continuing the whole developer workflow, we have committed the code, we have checked the merge request, everything is fine. Next comes the vulnerabilities. So as we saw in the workshop that once the vulnerability is created, it's not necessary that the developers understand those vulnerabilities. And even with everyday new vulnerability coming up in the market, not even the SMEs are almost aware of all the things which are going on in the industry. So for those kind of things, explain this vulnerability can help you understand what kind of vulnerability it is, maybe understand why it's being there and predict a small fix, how you can fix it. Once that is there, you can summarize the MR review, all the review comments, and based upon that, make the approval process a little bit easier. Then the last step, which is value stream forecasting, is really exciting because usually the business is always trying to understand what is the pace of your development team, what can they expect in the upcoming future. So for those kind of things, value stream forecasting can help you forecast the pace based upon your current uh, uh, pace, and then they can get a little bit idea of when can they expect things to be there or the features to be there in production based upon the value stream forecasting. So going further than just increasing dev productivity, enterprise must also develop a strategy that incorporates AI through their entire SDLC, because just providing AI features for the developers might mean that the security team might be struggling, or maybe providing with the security team, the business people might be struggling. So with us, we think for the whole SDLC workflow, in every step, AI workflows can help improvise the efficiency of all the parties which are working towards creating new features or towards the SDLC workflow of that particular organization. To truly unlock the power of AI, you need to apply it to planning stage where business holders might be involved, to the code creation where developers usually work, testing. Sometimes testing is done by the DevOps team. For some, there are different teams, security, monitoring, and so on. So it's not only one step, one stage which can gain something from the AI, but it's the whole process. And with each step, different stakeholders can actually get different benefits from the AI. And if you have one unified data store where all your company SDLC data is there, predicting things and getting the outputs from the AI becomes more seamless, and you are able to get data from all sorts of processes, from planning to monitoring, instead of fragmented data. So the explosion of AI into the development is only increased the way we look into security and compliance, right? So it's not only developer, but the security and compliance should also benefit from the AI capabilities and work towards it. Those who are still stitching the point-to-point product and applying AI in the code generation will lack the power which other teams or other areas like security, compliance, project management can get from the single layer, right? So each team which is part of the whole SDLC flow should benefit from AI instead of only developer or a single team. With GitLab, we are an enterprise which is focused on build mission critical software. Customers choose GitLab because we are most comprehensive DevSecOps platform that helps developers, that helps the DevSecOps team to deploy software faster. Customer also choose GitLab because it's safe and trustworthy. So it's not only logged into one cloud, but you can have so many products integrated, so many platforms integrated with GitLab, and customers have more transparency into the source code and product roadmap because our product map is open. Anybody can comment on the features they would like to have or the improvisations which we can make for the existing feature. So this comes with the end of our session. You can transfer your project using the issue, but you can wait till 48 hours, because if you do not have the ultimate license on your own namespaces, on your own groups, you will not be able to go ahead and test the various functionality of AI. So once the 48 hours is about to end, you can go ahead and transfer the project to your own namespace. So for transferring the namespace, let me go and try to replicate the steps. So for transferring the namespace, you can go on the issues which we just used and on the transfer project. Here it will tell you how you can transfer your project or the group we just completed. Again, I will not go ahead and do all these things because I still want to try some things, but go ahead and follow these steps to transfer your project into a namespace, onto your own namespace. So this is the same notification which I just told you about, that if you transfer the project, you might lose some capabilities because you might not have an ultimate license enabled, and thus the AI part will not work for you. So these are the instructions which we saw for the transfer project. And yeah, that is it. I hope you enjoyed the whole journey of AI features which we just showed, and you also have some time to try some things out on your own time in the evening or maybe tomorrow. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the Q&A section, and otherwise have a nice evening, everyone.
So I think for a little bit, we can answer some of the questions live. Just starting with one of them. When will code suggestions be available in Ultimate? Right now, code suggestions is available at all tiers. I don't know if we have announced when it's going to be added to a certain tier, etc. But right now, code suggestions is available at all tiers. Then there's another question. Will the same features be available in an on-prem installation having an Ultimate license, or is there a difference between SaaS? So I know that there's work being done to make code suggestions available on-prem. James, I see you typing an answer. If you want to go more in depth into that, all I really know is that I know we're working on it and I've seen a POC of it. Looks like James is still on mute, so he might just be answering in the chat. I'm asking about code explanation, which is, oh, sorry about that, I misread. For code explanation, that is still an experimental feature. So there are currently no plans really for where that's going to fit into what tier. For now, it's available, I believe, at the ultimate level. So I can go ahead and share my screen.
So, I was about to do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, if you Google, you are able to see my screen. It's not stuck, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, if you Google GitLab AI ML powered features, you can go to our docs. In our docs, we regularly update all the features which we move or which we create new. For example, the features which are in beta, in general availability, like suggested reviews is already in general availability, and so on. And with each of the features, you can also see which tier it is part of and if it's available on self-managed or SaaS. In this way, you can have more information regarding which functionality is available and on which tier.
And I'll just add to that, that's not like what the end goal is, right? This page gets updated pretty much daily. So if you see something on here that is still listed as experiment on the experimental stage, definitely don't take its final tiering as truth until it moves out of experiment. So then going through a few other questions, I'm going to dismiss ones I answered. Are there any more AI workshops coming up? So I think there is one scheduled in America early September. Besides that, you can always reach out to your rep and ask for either a further in-depth AI demo or even an extra hands-on AI exercise. I would reach out to your GitLab rep for that. So then another follow-up question, for self-hosted instances, all AI features are ultimate features. Are there any plans to make some of the existing features or future AI features available for premium users? That I can't speak to because so much of it is brand new. It's really not talked about yet. For now, a lot of it is in the ultimate tier if it's experimental. Otherwise, a lot of them will probably go to general availability just to allow people to test it out, etc. But for the time being, you do have the 48 hours with the temporary ultimate license on your test group to test it out. Okay, code suggestions is currently not available on-prem. For now, I don't believe it is, but I know that there are plans to do so. And I've seen a mock-up of it. I don't think there's a release date or anything like that, but I do know that that is being worked on. Next question, can you give insight in the technology used behind these AI features at GitLab? Example, is it based on Llama, for example? So James might know more about this, but I do believe there's a good mix depending on the feature. Some of it uses the Google models for training, etc. Some of it is in-house. There's just a good mix between them all. Does anyone have any more input on that?
No, that's right, Logan. Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, we are using the Google Vertex AI model, and underneath that, it's Kodi, I think, that's being used currently in Kodi Gecko. So there's more information about that on our Code Suggestions website, and you can follow the links there.
Sweet. And then I see James is already typing a response. But integrating the plugin for code suggestions for IntelliJ, I believe IntelliJ is already supported. If you check out the code suggestions docs, they should have a list of IDEs that are currently supported. VSC for sure, obviously the built-in web IDE, but that is, if it's not, I know it's being worked on.
That's right, Logan. And just to re-emphasize that, the development teams are increasing the plugins available. So keep an eye, watch this space, watch the code suggestions page. There will be more announcements.
Right, and this stuff is literally updated daily. The content for this workshop, we've had to change pretty much every day for the last week because it's rapidly being improved. So it's definitely an exciting time to just watch it and keep an eye on the features that are coming out. Okay, next question is, how does GitLab ensure the privacy when auto-completing code? Isn't necessarily, so the difference is your code might be sent, but it's not necessarily used to train any model, right? The risk of privacy with a lot of these code suggestions like tools is you add your code, it scans your whole code base and then uses that to train further suggestions. We take a very small portion of the code that you want a code suggestion on, namely it doesn't even go outside of the file right now, and then it doesn't train anything on that. It looks at it, gives a suggestion, forgets everything that it just suggested. If that makes sense. So at this time on the doc page, it is only for Ultimate You Have Plans, some features for premium users. I can't speak to that. Code suggestions should be available at all tiers still. So technically that is for premium users right now. For the rest of them, I don't know where they'll end up. They all are still in the experiment stage. So my best suggestion would be to watch our releases and watch that page for further breakdown of where those features fit in. How reliable is AI assistance for production code? In my own experience, it depends on what you're writing. Obviously, you do have to look through what you typed to make sure like it makes sense and it actually works. I think typically it's great for building the structure, and this isn't just for code suggestions. This is for all code suggestion like tools. If you want to create a RESTful API, it can create the entire structure for that in less than a minute, but then you're going to need to spend some time going through it, making sure it's secure, making sure it makes sense. And all that will get better with time, but I don't think any tool is at that point yet where it's instant production code at the click of a button. So another question, just in case, how to enable all AI features in IDE? I'm using VS Code. But how can I enable? So those don't exist in a separate IDE in terms of like chat, etc. The only AI feature that will work in the built-in web IDE or a different IDE is code suggestions for now. I assume more will get moved over eventually, but for now that's the case. Otherwise, everything else stays on your group on GitLab.com. What are the best practices we can take into consideration for avoiding updating our O code back to Google's LLM model? I'm not sure I'm following this one. Does anyone else have an answer to the top question?
Yeah, Logan, I'll have a shot at that one. So
Okay. Oh, did I just lag or did you just go on mute?
Yeah, I think.
And I lost him.
there we
Yeah.
go. I'm back again. Sorry about that. It's the headset. We're having lots of fun today, aren't we? Yeah, so parts of the code around the cursor, so where your cursor currently is, the context of what you're looking for, obviously is sent to the LLM for assessment and response, but none of the code goes into the model itself. So again, just to reiterate, from a security or privacy perspective, your code does never enter into the model for other people then to be suggested to, okay? So there isn't really a best practice upon that. That's built into the IDE and how we integrate code suggestions. I hope that answers the question.
I think that makes sense. So the next question is, what are your best recommendations for people implementing AI into IDEs? It's up to you. I am a VSC guy, so I like to use VSC personally, and I just use the Google workflow extension, but I've tested them all and there's no like performance booster if you're using the built-in IDE or VSC. It's really up to preference, and that's why we're trying to support as many IDEs, because I know people love IntelliJ, people love other alternatives. So really any of them do the job.
I'd like to add to that, Logan, if possible. I would also recommend that you track the efficiencies if you're finding that particular facilities aren't working as well as they used to be, or need to be updated or changed, because it's a constantly growing model. Okay, things will get better. Things can also alter. So that would be another thing. What else was going to add to that? Oh yes, don't enable too much AI in your IDE. There's a classic video from way back where they had two Google smart home devices talking to each other in an endless loop. I would suggest that if you have more than one AI plugin, they could interfere with each other. So be careful on how much you plug into your IDE.
Sweet. So then next question, when GitLab is analyzing our code and suggesting resolutions using AI, is it sending our code to a third party to be analyzed, or use your own environment and algorithm to analyze the code? So it uses our own algorithm to do it. It works similar to how code suggestions works, where it will temporarily pull the code or the vulnerability, specifically if we're talking about explaining that vulnerability, and send it to the model, but none of that data is like tracked or tied back to you. That's the primary way we are developing all these features, is privacy first. We don't want that common use case that seemed to keep happening, where you accidentally committed a database credential somewhere in your repo, and then the AI scrapes it and suggests it to someone else. We do all of our own training in-house and with Google, so we don't use any of your code. So then the next question, how different is Copilot and Duo? So the biggest difference, obviously, is just that one is made by GitHub and Microsoft, and one is made by GitLab. They both are code suggestion tools. I would say if you get down to the nitty-gritty details, we have a much larger stance on privacy. And you could argue that because of our stance on privacy, there's a small trade-off in the quality of suggestions, but we make sure that none of your code is used to train any of our internal models, where if you do a quick Google search about Copilot, that seems to be a common issue where more code gets pulled than people thought, and their internal private code is being suggested to other people.
If I could add to that, Logan, as well, Duo, actually, GitLab Duo refers to the entire suite of AI assist features on our products, and that covers the whole SDLC, not just development. So there's lots of aspects coming out for GitLab Duo. Code suggestions is just one aspect. Also, the models used for GitLab CodeSuggest, we support a wider language base, so there's more languages supported than Copilot. And you can find that information on our code suggestions website page.
Awesome. Next question. Do you make sure that data used in the model isn't by itself generated by AI? Is there a way to track what's written by developer? I know that that is tracked internally. So I know we do have, various graphs and dashboards to see how much of our suggestions are actually taken, how many of our vulnerabilities are accepted, etc. But I don't know if we have made that visible yet to the developer to see like how much code they wrote compared to what was suggested. So I guess I don't know the answer to that. And I think the answer is no, there's not currently a way.
I might chime in there as well, Logan, on that. I mean, we are using the Google Vertex model, and they do publicly declare which sources they use to train those models, and they are open source language sets. So theoretically, there isn't anything coming from people specifically or companies specifically, but they're based on open source model sets at this time. And again, this is a beta feature. It's evolving, and it'll be interesting to see how the story progresses until we go GA with this product.
Sweet. So next question, any way to troubleshoot the merge request description generation? I can see experimental feature in the comments. I can see experimental features in the merge request like view summary and test cases. Are you talking, if you just put in the chat, are you talking troubleshoot as in it's not working? That may just be due to the fact that it's getting rate limited. So a lot of the experimental features do have a rate limit per minute. As you may have seen throughout the workshop, there's not much we can do about that. If you come back and try again in a little bit, it might work. Same with like at the end of one of the optional features, GitLab chat, which is the ML powered chatbot, has the same issue right now. We are actively making fixes to it. You just have to check back in if something's not working. And that's the nature of experimental features. If you look at our kind of promise on uptime, they're labeled as experimental. There really is no promise of uptime. We want you to test them. We want them to be out there, but they might go down randomly because we're doing an upgrade or an update that we think will make the experience better. Yes, other features not really working, so I guess it would work later. Where's the chatbot? I cannot find. The chatbot is in, if you are on GitLab.com and you click help in the bottom left, and then you click Ask GitLab Duo, that's the chatbot. This one definitely, I know, has an upgrade today, so I'm unsure if it will work. But it's the same thing with them all. They just take time, check back in, especially when something goes GA. That's when the promise will be that they are working all the time, right? Otherwise, it would be considered an outage. Experimental features are like our lowest tier of making sure they work. We're mostly just trying to let you see the possibilities and see what's coming.
But for every project, you can just go ahead and click on help and GitLab Duo. That should navigate you to this pop-up window, GitLab Duo chat, and that should be the place to ask questions.
Yep. So any other questions? Oh, one more. Are there risks or are there risks for enabling the experimental features option? No risks. It's really just the fact that now that you have your ultimate license, you will see things like explain this vulnerability, explain this code, etc. That is all that flag does.
And again, I just on the back of that, just refer to the documentation. We do have a code suggestions page, and it does clearly sort of like identify, and it'll be the same for other features. If there are any sort of things to be aware of, I think there's a no limitation section currently just to highlight where the product is currently at. So do make note of that, but we will make clear the product management are quite good at being transparent.
So the next question is, any plans for chatbot to support Microsoft Teams? I don't know of any. The chatbot right now, like our current chatbot functionality, is just based on .com. And I think that's where it plans to live for the foreseeable future. So I really can't speak to that. And then seeing no other questions, I think we're good to wrap it up. Thank you all for attending, and please reach out to your reps or us if you have any further questions. And don't forget, you do have the 48 hours to continue testing everything, especially that AI sandbox on the workshop project already has listed all of our supported languages. So definitely give it a shot using code suggestions to see, what it can come up with based off your prompts.
Thanks, Logan, and thanks for the support, and thanks to Nipur